We'd like to take a moment to thank our friends at Hester & Cook for sponsoring this podcast. Hester & Cook believes there's always a moment to celebrate, and we could not agree more. They make the most beautiful tablescapes for your holiday hosting, all from paper. Yep, you gotta see it to believe it. So stop by their stores around Nashville and Franklin, or shop online for the season's best holiday decor, gifts, and specialty tabletop items. Use promo code Magnolia for 15% off your first purchase in store or online at hesterandcook.com.
What does fall get you excited about? Pumpkin spice lattes? Upcoming hay rides? For many Southerners, including us, it's football that gets our heart beating a bit faster. Get your favorite team pom-poms ready to revisit a beloved subject to the Steel Magnolia co-host, college football traditions.
Woohoo!
I'm Lainey.
And I'm Laura Beth, and we are Steel Magnolias, the strength of steel
With the grace of a magnolia.
We are here to have uplifting conversations about life in the South.
And we've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair. Well, we're both smiling about this subject.
So I actually had a neighbor that listens regularly, and she said, the college football traditions episode was episode 40. So we're talking about over 150 episodes ago.
Isn't that wild?
Yes. Anyway, she said, I want you guys to talk about college football more because it just makes me so excited listening to you all talking about it. So,
that's fun.
But we don't want to.
We're going to
strictly be college football because we got all kinds of Southern culture to talk about. But today, it's time to talk about college football. It's a couple of weeks into the season already.
So fun. And when I was prepping for this episode, now, granted, this was before this weekend that's just passed games.
Okay.
But the top 25 teams in ranking, half of them were located in the South. And that's not unusual.
Right. All conferences, correct?
I'm talking, it could be SEC, ACC, Big 12, which includes Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, West Virginia. The American Athletic Conference, which includes Tulane, SMU, South Florida, Memphis, Houston, Tulsa. I just mean these schools are located in the South. Half of them in the top 25.
That's crazy. We're feeding our boys good stuff.
I guess so. So, yeah, that's not unusual. We've mentioned before, like just football is big Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's so true.
You got your high school, college, and professional.
That's so true.
But we're sticking with the best, which is the
college. Love Saturdays. Saturdays down south.
That's right.
So one of the things that I thought was interesting, you will hear in our traditions that we go school by school, that there is a tradition at Auburn, the Auburn Tigers, Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama, where at Toomer's Corner, they toilet paper the trees.
So, and it looks so cool in pictures.
Spoiler alert, when you get to that, you'll already hear. But there was lots of damage to the trees that get TP'd. And for the last 6 years, they've been on a hiatus.
Okay.
Well, they're ready to roll again, so to speak. So this will be the first year in about 6 years that they're going to be TPing Toomer's Corner. So that's fun. That's a fun update.
Very fun.
The other update since this recording is that still to come, but in 2024, the SEC is adding 2 schools. So we're expanding from 14 schools this year to next year we'll have 16 schools. Additions being Oklahoma Sooners, which we talk about.
We do, because that state was in the South.
Yes.
So I mentioned it.
And UT Austin, University of Texas, Austin. I use UT loosely.
Yeah.
Because UT Knoxville, Tennessee is my home.
And they got the burnt orange versus the brighter orange. But
so let me just talk about that for a second, because I dug in deeper. I was like, if they're going to be in the SEC next year, I need to know more about them. So the orange and white were first introduced as UT Texas's colors in 1885, when 2 students on their way to a baseball game stopped at a general store to get ribbons for the crowd. The most plentiful colors in stock were orange and white. After experimenting with gold and white and even orange and maroon, UT officially adopted orange and white as its colors in 1900. So I just wanted to say that we were first in Tennessee.
You're so funny.
I just feel like it's the younger sister that wants to copy us. I'm sorry, Texas. But Texas was formed as a school in 1883. Tennessee was formed as a school in 1794. So that's about 100 years.
That's pretty wild.
Seniority we have.
Well, I will give Texas this. I do like the hook'em horns.
I love the hook'em horns.
It's adorable.
Yes.
And sometimes they have Matthew McConaughey on the sidelines. Also adorable.
Yes.
I mean, really.
But what's also funny is they also have a Smokey. They call their cannon Smokey. Smokey the Cannon. Smokey was traditionally operated by the Texas Cowboys Student Organization, and they fire 4 10-gauge shotgun shells simultaneously, and then I think even more as scores are made.
Okay, if this ends up being a game, a UT versus UT, Smoky versus Smoky, Orange versus Orange, it's on.
It is. Well, and yeah, because the other interesting thing that was news to me is I did not know the history of the University of Tennessee's checkerboard end zones, which in my opinion are the most iconic end zones of college football.
So cool looking.
Right? So it's an orange and white checkerboard in each end zone. Well, I didn't realize that was designed and inspired by Ayers Hall, which is a very, very, very old building. It was dedicated in 1921 that sits up on the hill of the university. And in the very, very top, it has a checkerboard.
Oh, that's where that came from.
And I did not know that.
No idea.
And I guess Coach Nealon would often tell the volunteers to run to the checkerboard, like for practices.
So they decided run to the checkerboard.
Run to the
It's a
checkerboard.
pretty good idea.
Yeah.
That is precious.
And now, since 2014, they have begun checkerboarding every so often the fans in each group.
I can't even believe how that looks,
of
too.
the
Like, you get an
stadium.
assignment of your seat on if you're to wear orange or white.
It is the coolest.
And people do.
Yeah.
It right.
Yes.
And it looks so sharp.
Yes.
So fun. Well, I have something I want to discuss.
Yes.
Before I even tell the why. You know how there's just certain music that, I mean, you get pumped just hearing the beat?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you just, it
Yeah.
like unifies you with
Yes.
your people.
Makes you want to move. Yeah.
Maybe it's good in your workout
Yeah.
playlist or whatever. What are some songs like that for you? I'm putting you on the spot, but do you have any?
Well, most of them are old. I would say, Good Vibrations, Marky Mark
Oh my
and the
gosh,
Funky
yes,
Bunch,
that's a
right?
good one.
Like, just as soon as it
Yes.
starts, I mean, I'm power walking.
That's right. Or Eye of the Tiger.
Yes.
I think of that as like, you
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
push through.
Yeah.
Maybe Kanye even.
That's true.
Stronger.
That's right. Stronger is definitely on an old playlist.
But yeah, what about like, there's just something about heavy metal. You know what I mean? Like, there's just heavy metal just makes, like, I think about AC/DC, Back in Black.
Or Thunder. Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes you like,
Yeah.
ugh. Well, I failed to mention in this episode, so I wanted to add on at the beginning. Since the year 2000 at Virginia Tech, and we mentioned Virginia Tech, but do you know what their song is that they come in?
I know where you're going now that you've told us metal. It's
Metallica. Enter
Yeah.
Sandman. And that beat does just like, I mean, that would make me be so pumped with my team.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny selection, though. There's so many songs they could have gone with. So that's a funny one to me. But hey,
And there's like a full minute
if it
of
works.
just beats before there's even a word of lyric.
That's
like,
true.
It's just so
it's
good.
charged up. It's very charged up. It's what you
The
would
Hokies.
Yeah, it's what you would expect with every like baseball walk-on song.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, when they're
yeah.
going up to hit. Yeah.
Tell us some of your songs that y'all get y'all pumped up too. I want to know. I love it. I had one more thing.
Oh, okay.
With discussing, like, I have this desire that I still want to get to Ole Miss to go to the Grove for
Yes.
tailgating. I just think that sounds like
In
so
Ole Miss,
epic.
yes.
Like the way they just do it up so big.
So big. Chandeliers, yes.
Yes. Well, one of our prior guests and friends, Elizabeth High School, who, if that name sounds familiar and you haven't heard that episode, she's sometimes on the Today Show.
Yeah, she's like a contributor in their food segment sometimes.
Yeah, she's a total hoot.
Oh, yeah.
She is now bringing her catering that she does there in Oxford, Mississippi, to the Grove. So if y'all are tailgating at the Grove,
man,
and you want to just let her do the cooking, orders have to be in on noon Monday before the game.
Okay.
And there's a $200 minimum, but you can go through her elizabethhighschool.com. We can put a link in the show notes for that.
Man,
and
I bet it's good.
Also follow her on Instagram because she's got fun Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that.
That is special.
And I'm sure every place has caterers that'll bring it to you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but hers, I'm sure, is very special, very on theme.
Yeah, she's down there partying it
up
herself, too.
She just turned her Saturday party into her business
That's
time.
right.
So, well, we hope you guys enjoy this episode. It's so full of just goodness, of traditions, fun, quirkiness,
absolutely,
and just all out just sportsmanship. So we hope you enjoy this episode, and here it is. We're gonna have popcorn around like crazy today because we have a lot of teams,
things that we love
to cover. So let's just start with the powerhouse. Roll Tide, Alabama.
Oh, man, it's so hard to even say those words.
Well, we'll say that we're starting alphabetically then. I don't know. We'll just start with them.
That's hilarious.
They are a phenomenal football team.
Domination.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way around it. It's domination.
So, of course, legendary coach Paul Bear Bryant is their claim to fame. And a tradition that I love that they do is he wore regularly a houndstooth fedora type hat.
That's right.
And even though their colors are crimson and white, oftentimes you see just as much
houndstooth all over the place.
Houndstooth.
That's right.
Which is kind of fun for the girls.
Oh,
too,
yeah, because
right?
it's cool. It's a cool pattern.
Like you're styling your team colors, but you're in houndstooth. So,
or you even see that in decor of the tailgate.
Oh,
or
for sure.
In rooms that people decorate that have, their Alabama football.
Yeah.
Pillows that are houndstooth with the big A on it, or that kind of
so black and white houndstooth everything is their way to pay homage to Bear Bryant.
Did you know, well, I was going to say Sports Illustrated came out with a couple of lists just a few, just a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And one of their list was the well, there's a couple that I was going to mention. One list is best college traditions of all time. And one was biggest college rivalries of all time.
Ooh, okay.
So, anyway, I will be referencing both of those lists. But the Alabama-Auburn rivalry, also known as the Iron Bowl.
The Iron Bowl, yes.
Is considered the biggest college rivalry of all time by most lists.
Yeah.
But that made the number one slot.
That's real. I can see how they got that slot because that's a heated
rivalry. We have one family member that lives in Alabama and flies their UT flag amongst all of the Auburn, Alabama flags on homes throughout that state.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're just like that, aren't they?
Well, and I think in the South, you pick your team, and in a rivalry like that, it gets heated sometimes.
Does. Yeah. Well, also, if you're on Alabama's campus on game day, you're going to see a lot of tailgating at the Quad, a 22-acre area that is a huge lawn party. The $1 Million Band assembles at the library and plays toward the Quad and then moves into the stadium.
That's fun.
That would be a tradition that has been long-standing there amongst those that roll Tide.
Man, they've just had it. It's been fun to be an Alabama fan for quite some time now, and their day will come, I guess, eventually.
Yeah.
Where they're not such the powerhouse, but they've had it for a while. 17 national championships.
Yeah. They used to always play UT on my birthday weekend, or like my birthday week, you know. And so when I was in college, it was fun because it was a little closer of a rival. But now
Tennessee was a powerhouse
now
at that.
It's just tough.
More at that time.
It's just tough to have that late October birthday.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't going to go in any alphabetical order or anything.
No,
There's all different ones. But one that I love, a tradition that I love, is at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They do the 12th man at Kyle Field.
Yes.
And it made the number 6 on the Sports Illustrated list of best traditions of all time. But anyway, I love that 12th man thing, just meaning that you, as the 12th man on the field, make a difference.
That's cool.
I like that mindset
that they
being the 12th man.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot. Now, this was fun. We had a listener, Marianne, that is a huge Aggies fan, and she actually got in touch with me. She knew that we were going to be doing a college traditions episode.
Okay.
And thankfully, she did it before we had this finish, so I could include this piece, because this was really fun.
Oh, cool.
To include.
Thanks, Marianne.
Yeah, and I did not know this. So her grandfather graduated from A&M, and then it was male and all military.
Okay.
And I guess her father, I think, went there as well. But, oh yeah, and then her uncle and her and cousins. I mean, it's...
Okay, family tradition.
Yes, they are diehard Aggies. Anyway, she did tell us if we ever go to an A&M game to make sure and go to midnight yell practice the night before.
Is it pep rally kind of thing?
I think so.
Okay.
But every time A&M scores during a game, all the guys kiss their girls. So back when Marianne's grandfather was there, and it was all male, all military school, girls were only allowed on campus for football games.
Okay.
So
this was a good excuse.
Since the military frowns upon public displays of affection, they had to come up with a way to kind of have a reason to kiss their date.
So cute.
And so that's how the tradition was born.
And it continued this.
Every time the Aggies score, all Aggies score. That's how they say it.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, and she said her grandparents are in their when they were in their late 80s. That was when they were in their late 80s when they passed away. And every time that they went to a home game,
they still did.
Her grandfather still kissed her Nana.
Precious. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne, for sharing that with us. Well, at University of Arkansas, the Razorbacks, they do the Call of the Hog.
Yes.
So, one fan stands up, raises his arms in the air and fingers wiggling, and begins the woo.
Oh, yeah.
And then every Arkansas fan is then participating in the Call of the Hog. So it's like...
I think it's adorable, but I have to say, if I was a cheerleader, I would not want to put on a pig nose. Well, that's just embarrassing.
Oh, they wear a lot of, the head, the pig head. Yeah. It's just all sorts of head wear. Yeah, and facial, things.
That would be a little awkward to me. But, it is a cute tradition. It is cute. And I definitely know it when I see it.
They fully embraced it. That's what I love about it.
That's right. That's a beautiful thing, right? Well, South Carolina has a fun tradition. A couple of things I wanted to mention about that. They have a tailgating area that includes 22 train cars that sit on an inactive railroad and provide luxury food and drink that you can.
Are you serious?
That's
cool.
Fun. I've never seen that, but it sounds fun, and the pictures were cool that I saw. But they also have a pure white horse that carries in the Trojan warrior. They call it the Traveler, and I think that's kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Too.
I like that. I had not heard that. That's very cool. Well, if you were to go to LSU.
Oh, Lord, I would love to go. Is it Death Valley?
Go Tigers. Yeah, the Tigers rarely lose when they play at home. There's a reason they call their stadium Death Valley. Win or lose, festivities continue long into the night all across the state's
That is a party
capital
school.
city. I was
Whether you're
say,
at Tulane or LSU, wherever you are down there in Louisiana, you're partying.
Yeah, and it's all a microcosm of Bayou culture.
Right.
So it's like a Mardi Gras party, frat party, family reunion.
Yeah, you're going to see lots of jambalaya and gumbo and things like that if you're at a LSU tailgate.
Yeah, so it's... their band is the Golden Band from Tigerland, And, by the time they march across campus, that they're playing like a jazzy pregame salute.
So cute.
Fans are in a frenzy. Yeah, it's just a party.
And in typical French tradition, their Go Tigers is spelled Geaux, not Geo.
Yeah, and then they're always saying, "Who dat?"
Yeah.
So, yeah. I actually would like to go down there sometime,
that would be a
It sounds very fun.
visit. No, I'm not going any further until I talk about Tennessee.
All right.
So Tennessee has such an impressive campus and tailgate.
They do.
But one thing that makes them super unique is that it's right on the Tennessee River.
Yep.
One of only a couple of schools in the nation that are on water like that. So they have what's called the Vol Navy.
Yes.
Very unique. Makes almost every list of top tailgates.
As it should.
As it should. Because it's like an all-day boating party.
Yeah.
People going from one boat to another. Some of them have hot tubs. Some of them have...
That's true.
Like there's music easily played on the different boats. And some people go into the game. Some people don't. They just stay on the boat party.
Yeah.
But the Vol Navy is very unique. Hundreds, I think there's a couple hundred boats typically on a Saturday that come up there and dock just for game day.
Yeah. And then the Vol Walk would be a very important tradition to mention, where the team and coaches and staff make their pilgrimage from usually around the Circle Park area where the statued torchbearer is, all the way down into the stadium.
And they're dressed in their
they're in their suits.
Jacket.
Yeah,
and
they're
tie.
not dressed out in their uniforms
Colors
at that time. But the Pride of the Southland marching band,
which is spectacular.
Yeah. And Smokey, mascot. Everybody's there. It's like a full-on parade. It looks like a homecoming parade, but this happens every single home game.
And typically it's the current team, but like I know just a couple years ago, Peyton and his son walked with the team.
Yeah.
Peyton being Manning. So.
And I would say, like, our stadium size, 107,000 seats, is usually with the number that is quoted.
I think they took some out to do boxes now. Anyway.
But it is wild to see the way, because of the way the stadium sits, you kind of do have this convergence onto the stadium.
Yeah.
And you get to actually appreciate the massive amount of people there just because of the way it kind of dips down
and
a little bit.
And the orange shows up like no other.
Yeah.
And the checkerboard end zones. But one thing I love is, actually it started under Doug Dickey in 1964. The Pride of the Southland marching band is doing their little thing out on the field.
Pre-game. Yeah.
And they come in, and then at one point they split and make this big T.
Yes.
Oh, it almost makes me have chills.
The power
thinking about
T.
it.
Yeah.
That they call the power T. Doug Dickey had put that on the helmet for the first time.
Okay.
In 1964, and that's when that started to
Okay.
come through the T. The team runs through.
Okay.
And
And
it's so sweet.
Smokey, our blue tick hound dog, he is always the first out of the team.
Yes.
Always.
So
The real one, not the mascot.
Not the mascot dog,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
real dog.
It's sweater weather and soup season, y'all. Laura Beth here to tell you about Zoop. Z-O-U-P. Zoop broths bring flavor to southern staples like really great grits, while their soups provide a comforting meal. Zoop is available at your favorite retailers across the country, including Instacart and online at walmart.com. For you Amazon shoppers, use promo code 20Magnolias. 20Magnolias to get 20% off your first purchase on Amazon. Learn more at zoopbroth.com. And now, on with the show.
I'll let you go next.
I'll go next. So, Auburn, War Eagle.
Wow.
This is pretty wonderful. And I actually have been to an Auburn game, and I guess I got there a few minutes too late before kickoff, so I did not get to appreciate this. But they actually have a majestic golden eagle that leaps off of a balcony.
It's amazing.
And circles the stadium, and of course fans begin chanting, War Eagle! Yeah, so then the eagle lands midfield and it's game time.
It's amazing.
And yeah, that's And then, so that's of course, getting the game started. And then after the game,
if there's a win,
everybody runs over to the oldest entrance of campus, which is Toomer's Corner, and they roll the trees.
Now,
which I think is so silly because it's like,
but it's cool looking and
you'd
fun
think
and harmless.
Do something that's like not a big cleanup, like. You usually roll people that you don't like.
That's true.
Anyway.
But the beauty of rolling is it is harmless to a tree. I mean, it's just going to finally come off.
Right.
What is not harmless to a tree is to poison it. And that is such a horrific thing that happened in 2011.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I knew about this.
This was such a huge deal. This Alabama fan was later arrested for poisoning the Toomer's Corner oaks that later had to be replanted because
those
they
are the
killed
trees
them.
that they roll. Yeah,
That's
those
right.
are the. Oh my gosh.
So, if you want to know more about the depth of hatred that can come from college football, I'm going to recommend another podcast to listen to. There's a podcast called Mobituaries with Mo Rocca.
Okay.
And he did an episode called Death of a Tree, Roots of a Rivalry. And he tells the story of the poisoning of the Toomer's Corner oaks, and actually even has some audio from the man who was arrested who did it. So if you have any interest in hearing more about that story, it's actually a pretty good telling of the story.
Okay. I'll have to maybe I can put a link in our show notes.
Okay. Anyway, that was a big deal. But the Toomer's Corner rolling also made the Sports Illustrated list of best college traditions. That came in at number 5.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So interesting,
I
right?
have not heard the tree story. That's crazy.
Well, Clemson... in the Atlantic Coast Conference, great college town. I went and visited Clemson, and it is just beautiful college town.
Did you seriously consider going there?
Not seriously consider, but I would say I was so impressed with the campus. And I love when a college town is kind of all there is the college. Like all the restaurants had things about, welcome back students and that kind of thing. Yeah. Like, it's just cool when that's the focus of the town, and that's the case there at Clemson. But they have a tradition where the team runs in and rubs Howard's Rock as they're coming in. Okay. That's supposed to, bring good luck to the game. So anyway, that is an old tradition and was also on Sports Illustrated list at number 2.
Hey!
So,
wow.
There you go.
Well, I will jump to Mississippi State University and tell you a tale of the cowbell that they are so proud of. So the school legend says that fans adopted the tradition in the 1930s after a Jersey cow wearing a bell around her neck wandered onto the field.
No way.
During the Mississippi State versus Ole Miss game.
Big rivalry.
And Mississippi State won big time.
Okay, so that...
They beat their arch rivals, and the cowbell became a good luck charm.
That's hilarious.
You will definitely see cowbells, or cowbell clanking.
Well, that's way long before the funny More Cowbell.
It is.
Saturday Night Live skit, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So I just feel like that's a really unique tradition, but...
And even the birthing of it's hilarious.
I love it. Yeah.
Well, that actually made the Sports Illustrated list at number 8 as best college traditions. But it was also the Mississippi State Ole Miss game is listed as number 8 of the biggest rivalries in college football. It says arguably the ugliest, nastiest series in all of college football. In Mississippi, there is Christmas, Easter, and Egg Bowl Day.
Oh my gosh.
The Egg Bowl. Not sure where that came from, but...
Well, a cowbell is stinking loud. So when you think about 1 times thousands or hundreds, so there's actually cowbell etiquette that they have. No. Like a 2010 conference came up with, because it was getting out of hand.
Okay, I can see that, especially with people who've had some alcohol.
Yeah, so conference, I don't know, presidents, athletic director, somebody, they came up with the cowbell clause. No joke. So anyway, fans can shake their bells only at appropriate times. And I don't know what those appropriate times are, but I know there's a website, respectthebell.com.
No way.
Yeah. So you would probably need to check that out. Check that out
hilarious.
before you go to a game
That's hilarious.
with your cowbell.
Well, there's lots of different hand motions that became popular with
very
different
true.
traditions.
Yeah.
I think mostly of the one that rubs me the most wrong would be the gator chomp.
That's so true. It's
in Florida
so invasive.
at the swamp. Well, they do it everywhere. No matter where they're playing, they gator chomp.
I think even pro players that came from the University of Florida still chomp when
Yeah.
they're on their pro fields.
Yeah, maybe it's
like
fresh
ingrained.
as their first year.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then of course Texas has the hook'em horns.
Yes, that's true.
Which is cute.
That's cute.
And-
Seems a little more tasteful for some reason.
And just speaking of Texas, I was thinking whether you're at Texas A&M or Texas, which by the way, both big college rivalries. In fact, Texas is in 2 of the top 10 rivalries. They're number 3, Texas versus Oklahoma on that Sports Illustrated list, and number 10 was Texas A&M. So those are both big rivalries.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, from a tailgating perspective, lots of good brisket at Texas tailgates. So you would probably see that at either school's tailgate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Love that Texas brisket.
Well, since we've mentioned the Gator Chomp, I will mention about the Florida Gators that their stadium is one that every visiting team ever
is scared to go
avoids like the plague. Yeah, it's a very difficult place to play. It's hot, it's humid, and the Gators, of course, are well versed and used to practicing all summer long in that kind of heat. And a lot of these other teams, even though they're southern teams, aren't used to that level. That's true. The first 32 rows of their stadium is actually below sea level. So, I mean, they call it the swamp.
Right.
And
so I've been to a game there.
Was it crazy loud?
It's so crazy loud. And part of it is because of the shape of it, the way it's real steep.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the below sea level thing.
Yeah.
But it's super hard for the players on the field to hear.
I'm sure.
And so Florida
like
plays that up to their advantage.
Yeah.
And they're super quiet when their team is talking, and they're super loud when the opposing team is trying to come up with a play.
Yeah. So Steve Spurrier, their coach, actually during the time that I was in college at Tennessee, is the one that began referring to the stadium as the swamp.
Okay.
So it's been around for...
That's not that low. That's not that old.
No, but...
in lieu of some of these traditions.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I know. I meant to actually say that up front. These schools were founded in, like, sometimes even the late 1700s, early 1800s.
Yeah.
So some of these traditions have been around for 200 plus years.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Truly.
Okay, that's all the Gators get.
That's hilarious. Well, another big Florida school for football is Florida State.
Yeah.
The Seminoles. And under Bobby Bowden in 1977, they started having the chief ride in on horseback with his flaming spear. So that's a big tradition for them, is when the chief comes in. And they had, under Bobby Bowden, very good football years. He was quite the powerhouse.
Yeah, he was.
So, anyway, that's all I was going to say about Florida State.
Yeah, well, we would be remiss to not mention the school that oftentimes gets voted number 1 tailgate, which is Ole Miss.
The Grove.
Hotty toddy, the Grove. I know this is on your list of places that you would love to see. I read a quote once that said, Ole Miss is to tailgating what Bach is to music.
No,
Quite simply the best.
That's hilarious.
It's a little strong.
I had a cute quote, too. They have a saying down at Ole Miss, we may not win every game, but we never lose a party.
All right.
So they do take their partying seriously. Yeah, they usually make most lists as the number 1 tailgate.
Yeah. So their colors are pretty. It's like a navy blue and a cardinal red. And you often see really bright white tents, as we've mentioned on our tailgating episode, with chandeliers and just
bring out
heirloom
the silver.
Family china.
It's quite fancy.
But also, girls wearing Prada and Jimmy Choo shoes and
2 football games. That's so foreign to me.
Yeah.
How about Oklahoma?
Yeah.
They are the Sooners, and they have the Sooner Schooner. So this was actually number 1 on Sports Illustrated's Best Traditions list.
Okay.
And it's just this old covered wagon that they come in on.
Yeah.
Pulled by horse. So that's one of their big traditions. Oklahoma, obviously really good in football over time. Again, I mentioned the number 3 Texas versus Oklahoma rivalry, the Red River rivalry. Mm-hmm. And they're Big 12, I think.
Okay.
So anyway, that's a powerhouse football school.
Yeah, it is. I will segue to the Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay.
They have an English Bulldog, which is their mascot, named UGA, UGA, University of Georgia.
Yeah.
That's what that stands for. But they have a chapel bell that rings on campus.
Oh, yes,
when
I've
they
heard of
win.
this.
It's a long-standing tradition. So, I haven't been on their campus myself.
Well,
but
Athens is another cool college town.
yes, it is.
Great music scene.
I was going to say, that's from where a lot of bands came from.
REM and playing the 40 Watt Club there.
Yes.
Is a great music venue to visit. But
their fans are improving a little bit. They used to be kind of ugly. I guess every team
school
you could
has
say
that.
I should probably not say that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Every team
depends
has its
on
ugly fans.
drunk people you ran into.
That's
but
true.
I would say they did kind of have a reputation of being a little rough. but you know, they've had some powerhouse football years too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think back to when in the 80s, they were so good.
Yeah.
Georgia was so good. So also in Georgia, we have Georgia Tech.
Oh, yeah,
right there in the middle of
course.
Atlanta.
Yep.
And they have a tradition that is, they come in on the Ramblin' Wreck is what it's called. It's a 1930 Ford Model A sports coupe.
Oh.
And for years they've come in on this. Well, I'm saying they come in. I think it's just a couple of the cheerleaders ride in on this Ramblin' Wreck. But that's a popular tradition, and I think that even may have made some list of great top traditions. And so anyhow, Georgia Tech.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I will mention Kentucky Wildcats up in the beautiful Lexington, Kentucky area. So of course they're
more basketball powerhouse.
Yeah.
But they participate.
They'll have good bourbon at their tailgate for sure. They do a call to post, just like you would hear at the Kentucky Derby.
Now that's cute.
Or other horse races like over at Keeneland. So just a nod to the horse racing that comes from that area. That's played pre-game, and
that's
that
awesome.
is, the segue into the game itself. But, that would be a pretty one to go to a game if you were also going to be able to do other things up there that weekend, right?
That's right.
Visits to distilleries and things. But yeah, the Go Big Blue, the Kentucky Wildcats.
I didn't have any other specific schools I was going to mention traditions, though. I mean, there's so many schools that have great traditions. I mean, yeah, there's so many. I think we could go on and on. But I was going to just talk about, we've mentioned before on another episode, but Thanksgiving weekend, there's a lot of the big rivalry games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And many of them are close to home. We were talking about if they're in-state rivalries, you're not going to be too far away from being with family if it's Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
But one that's quite famous is on neutral ground, and that is the Florida-Georgia, always played in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And they call it the world's largest cocktail party.
Ha ha ha. Yeah.
So, very cute tradition, big rivalry.
Oh, we got to mention Missouri.
I forget that they're Southern.
I'm
sorry, but I do.
I know. They're
now
in the
SEC conference. I don't think of that as Southern, but we'll keep going.
So, yeah. Did they have, let's see, a tradition at, I don't know how you say their field, Faro Field?
Okay.
But they call it the zoo, like Z-O-U. They say, one could argue every game day is homecoming, because before the season starts, freshmen whitewash the big M that marks the north end zone, and tailgates featuring mouthwatering Kansas City or St. Louis style barbecue, and the thousands that greet the Fighting Tigers as they make their way to the stadium before a game is a sight to see. So, once a tiger, always a tiger. So the Bengal tiger is their mascot.
That's cute.
I didn't want to not mention them because they are now in the SEC.
Well, like we said, we're heavy on SEC because that's what we're more familiar with,
right,
and what we grew up visiting some of those campuses. But
yep.
There are many other great football rivalries, great college traditions. Even in the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, other schools are North Carolina State, University of Louisville, UNC Chapel Hill, which is a huge basketball school.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, which is special it's a gorgeous campus, but it has both military and civilians together in one campus. I think that's the only campus that's
right.
like that.
I forgot about that.
You have, I don't really necessarily think of, we've mentioned before, Miami seems like it's not the South. It's like its own beast.
It
but
is. It's
technically
culturally different.
Technically it's in the South by location. And then you have Duke and Wake Forest over in North Carolina. Great schools that I'm sure have great traditions too. They're just not necessarily football powerhouses.
Yeah.
More basketball, especially Duke. But anyway, did you have any others?
Right in our hometown, we have to say something about Vanderbilt.
Oh, Vanderbilt.
They're getting better, too.
Well, yeah, I didn't used to think of that as a rivalry.
Right. Yeah.
But because Tennessee's had a rough go, it's become a little bit more of a rivalry. But they do quite the fancy tailgating as well.
They do, and they're the Commodores. They bear the name Commodore from Cornelius Vanderbilt. He provided the seed money to start the school. They have the sound of a ship horn that signals the Commodores.
And they are anchor down.
Yeah.
That's what their big famous saying.
Yeah, so they are, since they're situated right in the city, I think like some of the college town, like we've described on some of these other campuses, gets a little lost over at Vanderbilt. But
beautiful campus, though.
It is beautiful.
Well, and speaking of anchors, this is not Southern, but I have to say, pretty high up on my list of bucket list football experiences is I want to go to the Army-Navy game someday.
Oh, yeah.
Navy sings the Anchors
good.
Away is their song. But that's a big rivalry and quite the... I mean, even just watching it on TV is exciting to me.
Yeah.
Just seeing the passion behind that rivalry, the Army versus Navy. But that's on my list, even though it's not Southern. That's quite the tradition.
Well, we didn't even dive into like fight songs and some of the history and just the lyrics of some of these schools that, sing every single game multiple times a game.
I will say, I know we said we're heavy on Tennessee. Rocky Top is known as one of the more famous fight
school songs. Yeah. So,
and I have a funny story to share.
What?
I'm going to say on air. But one time, Laura Beth and I, we have a lot of funny memories. Where this is going. Lots of funny memories. But we decided after watching the movie Wedding Crashers that would be a fun thing to do sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Would be to crash a wedding. Well, I'm going to say it on air. Your eyes look big.
Oh, now I know where you're going. Okay.
We went and attended a wedding that we were invited to. But because we were already dressed up and we saw another wedding was happening, we decided that would be the night we would be wedding crashers.
Yes, pop into another wedding reception.
So we popped in and signed the guest book, ate the cake, and danced to Rocky Top on the dance floor before leaving. And it was so much fun. Because at a wedding, not everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
You've got only, lots of new people, meeting new people. And so we just were able to slip in, do our thing, slip out.
They had a killer
Fancy
shrimp cocktail
reception.
Ice sculpture.
Yes,
Yeah.
It was a fun one
That was
to
a good
crash.
one. But yes, we felt at home when they
When
started
they played
playing
Rocky Top and we were able to dance on the dance floor, it felt just wonderful.
That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, this has given me a little bit more appreciation for some of the different campuses, and it just makes me even more proud to be
From the
Southerner.
South.
So, hopefully you guys will get a chance to check out a game at somewhere in the South this season, because as we've already laid out, there is much fun to be had even off the field. So
That's right.
anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, and we hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you here next time.
Bye, y'all.